Thank you for joining us today. I'm always excited to share the work our team has been doing. It's truly a team sport. First, I want to recognize that we are in a time when the words of so many astronauts seem prophetic, in the visceral realization that all of humanity lives in a small, highly interconnected planet with a thin atmosphere, that our human divisions and inequities are not inherent qualities, but within our potential to solve as one human family on this small planet. These are not my realizations. They come from people who have seen the Earth from the perspective of space, the space perspective. Our goal is to make that space perspective accessible to as many people as possible from as many walks of life as possible.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning to all our friends out there and also to all those we have yet to meet. This is really an exciting day for us. So today we are announcing Space Perspective, our new company that will be taking people and research payloads to the edge of space. The video you just saw, the animation, is of our new spaceship, Spaceship Neptune, which is named, of course, for the planet, but also for the god Neptune, the god of water, which ties Earth and space beautifully together. And that is a lot of what Space Perspective is about. When we take all the people that we want to take to the edge of space, we want them to really be able to experience what astronauts talk about, of seeing the Earth in space, in that inky blackness of the cosmos, looking down on the curvature of the Earth, the thin blue line, doing it comfortably, gently, and accessibly. There'll be 8 people at a time with a crew member in the capsule. And of course, you'll be able to connect with your friends on the ground. And we'll have some really great communication systems so that we can have all kinds of live events up there as well. The whole capsule has been designed to be really flexible to allow for all kinds of things to go on up in the space environment. We'll be flying above 99% of the atmosphere at about 100,000 feet, 20 miles above the Earth. So we've been working on this concept for a long time. It goes all the way back to our days at Biosphere 2, where we really first started thinking about going to space, how we take a lot of people to space, how we really want to have that experience and give that to so many millions of other people. And we think it's an incredibly important experience to give to a lot of people. So one of the things about being in the space community for so long is, we all tend to drink a little bit of the same Kool-Aid. This has got to be an exciting market, right? So we really wanted to prove that to ourselves. So one of the things that we've done recently is brought into the team a global market firm who has done a market study to really help us understand the market for this. And this was also a group that is the travel group within this organization, not necessarily the space group, to get really an outside look on what we're also excited about. And they really helped us understand who our customer base is as well. So not only is this a huge market, we really wanted to understand who is going to want to do this, because we want to design this experience for you, the people who really want to go. So we then brought on into our team Priestman Good, who is a fantastic organization in Britain, a design firm, to really help us design this vehicle from the inside out, putting the customer experience at the center, putting the view of the Earth at the center of this whole experience. One of the things that's really awesome as well is that Neptune is the very first edge of space research and education lab. It's really a core part of our business. We're going to be flying experiments, even on our test flights, beginning early next year. There'll be rideshare flights on the Neptune capsule. We get the opportunity to fly the same instruments again and again and again. And this is actually very rare for anyone who has done research in space. You know how rare it is to have the opportunity to do it over and over again. And so we'll be able to go up and down through the same transects of the atmosphere, Some of the kinds of research that we're really excited about being able to do that are really important are things like climate change, atmospheric science, of course, solar and astrophysics, as has been done for many decades, but in a very different way here. And also astrobiology, really learning about the origins and the future of life in the cosmos. Heady stuff that's really exciting to do. We're also very excited, I should say, about our partnership with Space for Humanity. This really brings a whole aspect to our team that is really important. Not only they're a great customer and the first customer of ours, excuse me, not only are they a great customer of ours, but they are going to be bringing people to fly to the edge of space that perhaps otherwise wouldn't be able to go. You know, current and future leaders, artists, a whole variety of people. That is really what this is all about. Everybody should be able to see the Earth from space.
So first we're going to show a few slides here. This is the ascent profile. This is, we launch from land. We ascend at a blistering 12 miles an hour. So it takes us about 2 hours to get up to 100,000 feet. We'll float there for about 2 hours as well, and then slowly start an ascent that goes down at about 12 miles an hour, splashing down into the water there, where we'll get picked up by a boat, much like the SpaceX Dragon capsule gets picked up. So the whole flight, it's about 6 hours long and a very gentle ride. We're also looking at launching from an ocean platform to even a lot more flexibility. That balloon, as you see just before it launches, stands at about 650 feet tall or 200 meters. And when it's fully inflated at the very top there at 100,000 feet, it's about 20 million cubic feet or 570,000 cubic meters. And we use hydrogen as the lift gas. Helium has become quite difficult to obtain. It's used in a lot of medical practices and for launching rockets. We went through a huge trade space of designs to get to the Spaceship Neptune before settling on this meridional structure with vertical lobed windows. Well, there's a bunch of cool geeky stuff I could talk about the structure and the like. What we're really providing is an unobstructed view from the black sky down to Earth. Standing at the center where there's an opening between the 9 seats, you can see the Earth in a 360 view all around. And that conical bottom at the bottom there is to attenuate the splashdown. So it's a comfortable ride through the whole flight. Our launch equipment is mobile, so we can launch at virtually any large prepared surface like a runway. That combined with the maritime recovery gives us the ability to scale a company with launch sites around the world. We're talking with Alaska as well as sites in Hawaii, Asia, Europe, and elsewhere. Really being able to scale the company is an important aspect of how we design everything we do. The next, our initial launch site is from the shuttle landing facility at the Kennedy Space Center, as well as Cecil Spaceport in Jacksonville. Launching from KSC is going to be iconic. We already have a Space Act agreement with NASA for technical launch support, and we've leased facilities at the shuttle landing facility to begin our operations at Kennedy. In winter, we fly to the east and splash down in the Atlantic. And in the summer, we fly to the west and splash down in the Gulf of Mexico. We are regulated as a spacecraft by the FAA, much like SpaceX or Virgin Galactic. And our first test flights will begin in the first quarter next year. We'll be doing a full-scale flight through the full flight profile up to 100,000 feet and back down to be retrieved from the water. Our team has led, developed, or operated all human balloon flights and led to the edge of space over the last 50 years. Some of the highlights are Alan Eustace, who is the world record holder in balloon flight into the edge of space. We sent Alan on that record flight, and it's quite a testament that he's now a board member and working with us. Kirby Harris with Base Ventures is also a board member. Called one of the most influential tech firms in Silicon Valley by Business Insider, Base Ventures is our lead investor. And we're also thrilled to have astronaut Jeff Hoffman as our technical advisor and he is an astrophysicist and professor of aeronautics and astronautics at MIT. Among his many accomplishments, Jeff was an EVA crew member for the first Hubble telescope repair mission.
Today we celebrate the first American woman who went to space, Sally Ride. And 2 days ago, we could celebrate the very first woman who went to space, Valentina Tereshkova. And these women inspired young girls and young women all over the world to be really more than they ever imagined they could be. Human spaceflight has a unique capability to inspire the world. Tabor and I feel incredibly privileged to have been able to be part of this industry for so long and be part of it now as it's growing so rapidly. It's so exciting to see what's happening in the space tourism world today. We want to invite you all along on this journey to the edge of space. We want to hear from everybody. What science do you want to do? What educational programs do you want to do? What events do you want to do from space? How do you want to interact with us on the ground here? You know, we believe that space is for everyone because after all, we are already in space right here on our planetary spaceship. Thank you. And we'll take questions now.
Okay. This is Jeff Carr. I'll be moderating the Q&A. You would have heard that if I had not muted myself during the introduction. We're ready to take your questions now. So please use the hand raise function in Zoom to indicate that you have a question, and we'll introduce you into the discussion. So when I call on you, please wait just a couple of seconds for our engineer to unmute you, and then if you would introduce yourself and ask your question. Okay, so we're looking for hand raises. And the first one to raise a hand is Caroline Glen. We'll start with you, Caroline.
Hi, my name is Caroline Glen. I'm with the Orlando Sentinel. Hope you can hear me okay. I had two questions. Can you tell us what sort of preparation or training will passengers have to go through before taking a ride on the Neptune, and what controls will need to be in place inside the capsule? And then can you also maybe tell us a little bit about your journey from, Biosphere to Worldview with Paragon and how that sort of brought you now to this new company? Thank you.
I'll start with the training. You want to take the history?
Sure. Go ahead.
So we're designing this to be very low training requirement. It's going to be more than you would get with a going on a jet flight, a commercial airline flight, but not a whole lot more. There's certainly some training to enter and exit and what to do in emergency, things like that. But we really want to make this as accessible as possible. We don't need G training, things like that, and then controls inside. The capsule, obviously, it's a pressurized capsule, and we're controlling the temperature and humidity. And there's lots of backups to that. And there is a pilot on board, so it's 8 passengers and a pilot. And the co-pilot is actually on the ground, so that we can, if the pilot needs to do something with one of the passengers, we can completely fly the vehicle from the ground.
So our journey from the Biosphere, boy, how long do you have? I will try to make this quick. So, when we were in Biosphere 2, one of the seminal experiences was that of being part of our Biosphere, right? We were inside there for 2 years and 20 minutes. And, we were really aware moment by moment that we were reliant on all the plants around us for our oxygen, and that our carbon dioxide was going out to support their lives. And so we really got this experience of being part of our Biosphere. And it turns out that it's that sort of experience of oneness with our world is very similar to the experience that astronauts have. They're sort of seeing our view from the outside in, as we're going to want to have on Neptune, and inside the Biosphere, we saw it from inside out. And so ever since that time, Tabor and I have talked about taking people to space to have the astronaut experience, and in so doing, kind of give them the same experience that we had. So while we were in the Biosphere, we co-founded Paragon Space Development Corporation with Grant Anderson, which actually is thriving today under Grant's leadership. It does life support system in extreme environments, has technologies going to the International Space Station and the like. We had the first animals go through multiple life cycles in space, all kinds of really exciting things that we have and continue to do with Paragon. We then took Alan Eustace up under a balloon in a spacesuit to 136,000 feet, a little bit higher than we'll be taking people in Neptune. And he holds the record of the highest human balloon flight, which is pretty exciting. And then we co-founded Worldview, which is a balloon company. Worldview is very different from what we're doing at Space Perspective. It uses very sophisticated balloons called stratolites to do remote sensing and remote communications. But the whole thread of all the way through this has been about really mastering how we take people and payloads to space in the most accessible way possible.
Okay, it looks like the next hand up is Mike Wall. Mike? Okay, we're not hearing from Mike. We've got some more hands up. Why don't we go to Brittany Mulligan?
Hi, I'm Brittany Mulligan with the Hometown News in Brevard County. I was wondering if you could tell me what made Brevard County a great choice, and also how soon after you do your test flight do you hope that you can start doing passenger flights?
So we came to Florida because Florida is a peninsula, and that allows us to operate year-round because the upper atmosphere winds go east part of the year and west part of the year. So the peninsula was sort of our first stop. And then, Kennedy Space Center is an amazing resource. It's truly a national asset. So we're really quite honored to be operating from Kennedy and with the Space Act agreement with Kennedy and working with Space Florida. Brevard County is blessed with amazing facilities and a fantastic group of people in Space Florida. So that's really what made us stay. I have to say we came here and never left.
Okay, it looks like, Mike, you have your microphone on now, so we'll go to Mike Wall.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Hi guys, Mike Wall from space.com. Thanks for doing this. Just a couple quick questions. What's the kind of price range that you guys are kind of targeting for the ride? And what do you envision NASA kind of helping you with? What are they going to do, or what expertise are you going to get from them with like like you signed a Space Act agreement with them, right? What do you see their sort of contribution being?
I'll do price, you do NASA?
Sure.
Cool. This is how we negotiate everything. So we haven't set the price yet. We'll be setting the price sometime in the next year or less. But it'll be on the order of half of the going ticket price of Virgin Galactic, at least what they have been in the recent history. So as I said, we haven't set it yet, so I'm not guaranteeing this is the price, but it's on or you can do the math. It's on the order of 125K, that kind of price.
Okay.
And then the Space Act agreement with NASA is actually really important for us. We're starting off doing wind and trajectory analysis with them. There is a huge history of weather data that is at Kennedy Space Center, so that'll help us understand when we can launch and what our ascent trajectories will look like. Also, of course, being a center in the world of human spaceflight, test facilities and engineering support, it's amazing amount of very, very unique expertise there that we couldn't get any other place. So we're really excited to be working with them.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go now to Brendan with WFME National Public Radio.
Hey, thanks for taking my question. Brendan Byrne with WMFE. Tell me a little bit about what you're going to be doing at Kennedy Space Center and Cecil. What kind of work needs to be done to prep for these launches, and how does the vehicle get there? Thanks.
So I'll jump in on that. The vehicle is serviced either on Kennedy or just off Kennedy, depending on where we end up with our refurbishing and manufacturing facilities. And then we move sort of day of flight to either Kennedy or up to Cecil. That'll largely depend on if there's interference with the launches going on, or range issues, or weather issues. And then we haven't set our manufacturing location yet, but the balloons are manufactured. It's one balloon per flight. That we can't refly the balloons safely, so those get manufactured and also moved to the launch site. Kennedy has an amazing facility with the shuttle landing strip there. It's a great place to launch with great weather, as is Cecil. So, Florida is blessed with a couple of really great places to do these kinds of edge of space flights.
Okay, let's now go to Mel Holt with WFTV ABC.
Just took me a second to unmute there. I apologize. Can I ask where you will manufacture the Neptune?
Yes, sorry, there was major feedback there for a second. Yeah, so we're announcing operations in Florida today. We haven't actually yet determined our manufacturing location or our headquarters location. So we actually don't know that yet. Certainly, Florida is potentially a really great place to do that.
Okay, I've got a number now, but not a name. Whoever's dialing in from 321-506-2183. Or let's go back to Mike Wall. Mike, you've got another question?
Can you hear me? Yeah, I'm just, this is kind of similar to the idea you guys had with back in the Worldview days, Voyager, right? Can you just talk a little bit about what's different, like about Neptune compared to Voyager? Maybe what technology is similar and what's changed since then?
Yeah, so they're quite a lot different. You may remember that what we were doing with the original concept was going up on the balloon and coming back down under a parafoil and landing on land. The concept is quite different now. We wanted to really simplify everything and make this as smooth and gentle as possible. So the whole vehicle now goes up on the balloon, comes down on the balloon. So there's no dynamic change in the flight. It's just this whole long, beautiful, smooth, gentle ride the whole way. It also now splashes down in the water with a nice soft landing there. And of course, as you can see, the capsule designs are very different. We really focused on wanting to get as much view as possible, unobstructed view in the Neptune spaceship. There's very little technology overlap.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's go on now to Bill Harwood from CBS.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I apologize. I may have missed this earlier. I had to quit Zoom and come back in to enable my microphone, so sorry about that. Can you talk a little bit about, will you be launching mixes of civilians and researchers? Will you have all civilian flights, for example? And I realize you probably don't have an answer to this one, but can you at least ballpark what it might cost me to hop on this thing and ride?
Sure. So, one of the amazing things about the design that we've been able to work up is the ability to have events. We're looking at things like weddings, corporate events. I can't wait to see, spiritual leaders flying with political leaders. So I think we're going to see a wide variety of flights. Science flights are going to be really interesting. mixing tourism and science. So sort of the imagination runs wild, and we get we're getting lots of interest in all kinds of different great ideas. The price is going to be about half of what Virgin is selling for now, so in the ballpark of 125,000, but we have not set prices yet. And also, I think it's important to remember that in partnerships with organizations like Space for Humanity, we're making this accessible to people from all walks of life. We're a preferred provider for Space for Humanity, and they run selection processes and run programs so that all kinds of people can fly. So it's not just with tickets, but we're looking at a variety of ways to have a large number of people from different walks of life and different backgrounds fly.
Okay, I'll remind you that if you'd like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function. I'm not seeing any raised hands right now, so let's try something. Mark, let's go ahead and open. Let's unmute everybody and see if people can voice their interest in asking a question. We may be having some issues with people using the raise hand function. Looks like we've got a raised hand from Mary Liz Bender. Mary Liz, can you?
Yes.
Can you hear us? Good.
Yeah, this is Mary Liz Bender with Cosmic Perspective. I'm so excited to hear about this, and I was going to ask more about your partnership with Space for Humanity, because that really intrigues me about diversifying the people that have access to this experience. But since that was just kind of answered by you all, what are the other methods for signing up? Is it, going through Space Ventures, or what's the process of getting on board right now?
Well, funny you should ask that. Thank you. So actually, because we haven't set our ticket price, you won't see that obviously on our website, but we anticipate pretty strong demand for this. So what we're doing is asking people to actually sign up now so that we can put you in line, if you will. We're already giving people seat allocations, even though you don't have to pay any money now. But that way, the early birds get at the front of the line. And as we have new information about the price and all of that, we will, of course, those people will be getting that information first as well.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, looks like Brendan's got his hand up again. Brendan, did you have a follow-up?
I did, yeah. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about any partnerships you have with the state, or how kind of Space Florida is helping you move forward through this, and if is there a lease agreement for the shuttle landing facility, just kind of some of the business nitty-gritty on this.
Sure. Yeah, so we've leased facilities at the shuttle landing facility from Space Florida, which is great. And we're working on the operating agreement to launch from the shuttle landing facility as well.
Great, thank you.
All right, and we've got another question from Brittany. Why don't we go back to Brittany?
Hi, I was just wondering what the interior of the Neptune will look like, if it's just like seating, if there will be a bathroom opportunity for those maybe nervous flyers.
Yes. 6 hours aloft, you better believe it, there's going to be a loo.
Well, we say, no real spaceship doesn't have a bar. So if you have a bar, you have to have a loo. So the way it's laid out is that there is the pilot station, and 8 passenger seats are in a circle, all facing outward toward the windows, which creates an open space in the middle. And in that open space is where the lavatory is. It's sort of sunken down in that cone at the bottom and deploys up. But when the lavatory isn't deployed, that creates a bar area or event space. And I think it's also going to be an amazing place to stand, because you get a view of the Earth from all around. So you get that sense of the curvature of the Earth, and you can rotate your head around, so that open space is also going to be like the best place to get married ever. We can also elevate that floor, so you see in some of the pictures there's a dome at the very top, so that you can stick your head up inside that dome and get a sort of much more unobstructed view. We talked to several astronauts about views, and one of the things that was amazing about being on EVA is to be able to sort of have your head, right in the view unobstructed. So that dome at the top is meant to help facilitate that kind of an experience.
Okay, we've got time for 2 or 3 more questions. I see Mary Liz with your hand up again, and then we'll go to Joey Roulette right after that. Mary Liz?
Thank you. 2 quick questions. 1, when are you going? Are you going to go on one of the test flights? How excited are you about this? And 2, what's it going to take to become one of your crew members?
Ooh.
Raising my hand.
Okay, I'll take the first part, you take the second part, because I don't know the answers to the second part. So on the first part, you bet we're going to go. First of all, in all seriousness, I am not going to let anybody from the public go on our vehicle before we've been on it. But of course we want to go. So we will go on one of the test flights for sure. How do you become a crew member, Tabor?
Well, we're working on how to. But it's sort of interesting because there's a variety of backgrounds that are really important, and one of those is working with all the people that are flying and helping them if they have any issues. Of course, there's being able to fix issues that come up in the life support system or the like, and there's ballooning and piloting. So it's how we train that position and how we select for that position. I think is going to be a really interesting thing to work out. So, but certainly in the beginning, nobody's going to come with all of those qualifications completely worked out. So I think we'll be doing a lot of training and really selecting for the right people. Has always been my attitude is that you get the right people and you can train them in the skills that they need. So I can't wait for you to sign up.
Thank you. I already am.
Okay, let's go to Joey Roulette. Joey?
Can you guys hear me? Cool. So thanks for doing this. I was just, Mary Liz actually asked my question. I was wondering if you guys would go up first, but I guess to expand on that, you said you're going to be the first to go up. Is that like a test flight that you guys might do, or when I guess exactly you plan to go up? And then my next question, I was wondering if you guys could expand on what you learned during market research. I know you're not set on a single ticket price yet, but what factors, I guess, went into coming up with the $125K estimate, and do you think that price would ever come down in the future? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. So we will not be on the very first test flight. That will be the test pilot. We'll be doing that flight, the first crewed flight. But soon thereafter. And then on the ticket price, so gosh, so much goes into ticket pricing, which is why we haven't actually completely set it yet. I will say that absolutely we want to be bringing that down over time. We clearly understand our business model very well, and we want to be able to get the price down so that increasing numbers of people can go. That's sort of why we're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, the business analysis and market study that we had done was really interesting in that, one of our big questions was, do you sort of have the first few thousand really excited people and then it drops off, or do we then start to penetrate into other aspects of the travel market? And it's a huge $250 billion total addressable market that has many segments to it. People with adventure travel, family travel, people interested in experiences. It really segments out very diverse. So we were really, really excited to get those results back from having done an arm's length market study that was really meant to be objective and not have sort of our intuitive bias into it.
Okay, we have a hand up from Caroline Glen. Caroline, go ahead.
Thanks. You mentioned that the balloons themselves won't be able to be reused, but can you talk about the price that might be associated with redeveloping, rebuilding the balloon each time? And also, will the capsule itself that the passengers ride in, will that part be allowed to be reused?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. So the capsule is reused many times, and all of the other aspects like the parachute and the like are reused. We don't reuse the balloon itself because refurbishing the balloon and rebuilding it would be really harder than making another one. And given it's human space flight, it turns out that there isn't at present. Now, of course, we're always looking at new ways to do things and new technologies. A good way to reuse a balloon, but it will be upcycled. We've actually already looked into it being made into building materials and the like. So it turns out that those materials can be readily upcycled. So being a balloon is just a step along the way, and who knows, people's houses may be built from materials that flew to the edge of space. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Okay, looks like we have a hand up. We've got, again, time for probably one, maybe two more questions. Sandbar.
Howdy, guys. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
Indeed.
So although I'm not from the press, I am deeply invested in space exploration, and I'm a huge fan of what you guys are doing.
I'm a huge fan of your show.
Oh, thank you very much. I was very excited because I was very surprised about what this announcement was going to be, and I will be honest, I'm a newbie to the space industry, and it had never occurred to me that dirigibles or balloons could go as high as what you guys are proposing. So I'm super excited because what it looked like when you put your artwork up there is that it looks really safe. And it looks like what you said was there's not a lot of training involved. So it really does make itself accessible to everyone, which I love. Is there control over the vehicle? Is it controllable in terms of where it's going to land? Or I have a couple of questions actually. And secondly, is there an age restriction that you guys are gonna be putting on there for the sole reason of, obviously I'm not interested in putting young lives in danger, but I do believe that young people are the future, and getting this type of enlightenment and experience at a young age would be unbelievably positive. So where do you guys sit on that in terms of risk factors, safety, and the age restrictions?
I'll take the age bit if you want.
I can do the age bit too.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
I'll go with
the
so starting with the age part, there isn't an inherent reason why we couldn't fly a child. There are some legal issues that have not been fully resolved about a parent giving permission in the way that, as we're regulated as a spacecraft launch, and the waivers and the like are all actually part of federal statute. We're working on that, but I fundamentally agree that inspiring children and making this really accessible is incredibly important for what we're doing, and we'll be flying student payloads and providing many ways for people to access. But what was the first question?
I don't know. What was the first question, Cass? I forgot.
I was talking about the controllability of the vehicle.
Yeah.
Using a landing site. Is that random, or is it wind directed, or do you have control of it?
Yeah. So what we have is some control over where we land in terms of where we splash down. So we launch, we come up to 100,000 feet, and we're now moving with the wind, either east or west, and then we control when we begin the descent. So along that trajectory path, we can start the descent and come down along that path. The key to this isn't so much controlling where you go as being able to predict where you're going to go. And that we can do very accurately. The wind models are incredibly accurate on sort of day of, as done by NOAA. You can also send up weather balloons and get profiles done. So, our analysis of this shows that we'll be splashing down, right where we want to be with the ship right there. We'll be moving the ship a bit as we get updates to the wind as we're flying, but we can predict with great accuracy where we're going to go, which is the key to splashing down. And that's important because that allows us to do this many places around the world concurrently. So we're looking at Hawaii and Alaska, as we've talked about, and places in the Mediterranean. Knowing where we're going to come down allows us to put the recovery ship in the right place. So that's really the key to it, is prediction more than control.
And did I mention that I really want to see the Northern Lights from up there? Oh yeah.
Well, this is going to be amazing.
That is just going to be
right up there with the Northern Lights.
Well, I will say, as a new kind of member of the advisory board on Space for Humanity, I am a huge supporter of what you guys do. I believe in that this type of venture can really change how people view the world, the planet, and help us evolve as a species. So I'll be throwing my hat into the ring to get on one of your first flights.
Awesome.
So thank you so much.
I'm looking
that's exciting.
Okay, well, it looks like we've exhausted all of our raised hands. So thank you all very much for joining. Tabor and Jane, thank you so much for your time. If any of you have any additional questions or needs, please call Angelica at Griffin Communications Group. That number is 321-506-2183. Thank you all very much and have a great day.